What actually is low carb? I explain it to you in a few words, but I also make an even more detailed video later on to introduce you to the topic a bit more. Or if you're experienced, you can refresh your knowledge a bit. So come a little bit closer for more privacy, then I tell you what's up with the low carb diet. So what's exactly going on? Well, it's basically all about avoiding carbohydrates and that in favor of proteins, and in the actual form of the diet also with a lot of fat. But in my personal experience, I try to leave out the fat to some extent. What is left? Proteins and vegetables only. Here you have to make sure that they don't have too many carbohydrates. So what is exactly what you can eat? Well, there are all green vegetables or white vegetables, have very few carbohydrates. Dairy products are good. They have about 5 carbohydrates per 100 kilogram on average. And you should be careful with that because ultimately you shouldn't eat more than, say, 80 up to 70 for the beginning carbohydrates per day. Those who are already advanced are doing well, so they should try to reach 40 to screw up to 30 of carbohydrates. Of course, any sugar is forbidden because 1 gram of sugar has 1 carbohydrate, which means that with 30 grams of sugar we already are in our daily limit. If we eat low carb, then our body enters a so-called keto acid metabolism. That is, if we really turn it down completely, then something changes in the insulin and glucagon. These are the two opponents in the sugar metabolism. Because if no sugar gets into the body and no carbohydrates, the body does not need any insulin release. And ultimately there's a shortage of glucose, so sugar. It takes about 2 weeks, and some people then also report severe headaches and something like a cold turkey because sugar is kind of an addiction. So if we don't eat sugar or really less sugar, then the body produces sugar from other sources. Because the cells and above all the brain need sugar. But if you have been in this ketotic state for a long time, let's say 2 weeks or more, so-called keto bodies are formed, which is why it is called ketosis. And these can then be processed by the brain instead of the sugar. You have to imagine the animals. If it's not just the brown bear that found a big honey treasure, they almost never eat sugar and only minimal carbohydrates in grasses or something like fruits from trees, which means the animals are always in the ketotic state. And if you look at it that way, they live a healthy life. And if you look closely, then they are almost all normal weight. So my reverse conclusion is, when I eat only few carbohydrates, I'm automatically like an animal and never get fat or keep my figure, if I don't overdo it with the fat. So that if I can satisfy my needs for sweets, I have found sugar substitutes like erythrit and stevia. That's my little philosophy, because with them I can bake and cook. That's why I invented these beautiful cakes. You don't need sugar with normal food. As a natural supplier for something sweet are suitable fruits, mainly the berries or rhubarb. So all the berries, the blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, have very little sugar, and in relation to a banana, for example. That's why I always recommend using such fruits in my cakes. You will never see a banana cake from me because that does not go well with a low carb diet. However, you might see a papaya cake. Even papaya has relatively little in sugar. So I think now we have received a small overview what a low carb diet actually is. I will then go into detail about it later in some special videos, how I eat, how I manage my diet. But that all comes later in our small low carb community. So now, camera, please go away a little bit. I need the whole area, so here it can goes on with our delicious dish.